Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel, and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, and who doesn't want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps with ranking and SEO and all this other stuff, and I really appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. So this author, you can't expect him to talk about normal things or anything that's not true. If you know my review of his fantastic work from last year, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, this is an earlier work of his that I've been waiting to review for a while. But there are 4 parts with a total of 20 chapters. There are 7 chapters in the last part, so the last part is a big part, okay? And let's go over those right now. The first part is the cognitive revolution, where we started developing languages from the beginning, and the Big Bang and all this other stuff. Groups of people, like villages and interacting with each other from the apes. Chapter 1 is an animal of no significance about the hunter-gatherers, sapiens, and Neanderthals, and how we kind of came up to separate ourselves from the other animals. Chapter 2 is about, and I love when he talks about this throughout the whole book, like constantly, is how a lot of things that are made up. A lot of things that we have in today's world are completely made up. And he also talks about in this chapter how if social structure didn't exist, a lot of things, if it weren't for the knowledge and the mind and just consciousness in general, social structures would be far different today from how they are. I have a morning habit where I write down, as soon as I get up, I spend maybe 2-3 minutes writing down everything that I can, that comes to mind that I'm grateful for. And the stuff in this book is that you really learn to appreciate how far we've come. And you take a deep breath and you realize that this is so much bigger and deeper than just you and me. It's what happened before what's here. And that is just something else to be grateful for. Chapter 3, A Day in the Life of Adam and Eve. I think it's about where human emotions kind of tie into the mix and how lots of us think that we're smarter than we actually are. Something you might notice, at least I noticed, is that this guy has some sort of a tendency to constantly be like, guys, we're really not that smart, okay? It's time to sit down and just be humble for once. Chapter 4 is about the flood. It's about what wiped out so many different species. And it explains the theories behind that. The second part is the agricultural revolution. I want to be honest and say, I guess this is just my preference, but I don't find the stuff in this book, the actual material, as interesting as what's in 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, because it's not really as important or high priority to me, or maybe other people. Mark Twain said that history doesn't repeat itself. I love this quote. It just rhymes. But I think the futurity of the decisions we make today is more important than the past and how different things are now from then. This is kind of just excluding the present moment, because I know how important now is, and then, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and how time is an illusion and all that other stuff. It's disregarding that. Chapter 5 is history's biggest fraud, where basically we were domesticated by plants more than they were planted by us. There are traces and dashes of differences he has in this book between then and now, however. Chapter 6 is building the pyramids, about hierarchical classes, and it dives further into these myths and beliefs that we kind of create in our heads as just, these ideas originally, like the Hammurabi Code and the Declaration of Independence. Those were just ideas. But something else that's really interesting about this book is that he seems to stress that it's not actually a bad thing that these things are made up. Chapter 7 is memory overload, about the importance of, if we gather everything all these people have told us on Facebook or with Apple, we know things about these people that they don't even know. But there's all this data, and how can we make sure that it's safe with and for them? Because we cannot remember all this information, but our creations can, and I think that's insane. It really is. Keep in mind, in case you haven't noticed, a lot of the information today is not even like physically stored or presented to us. Chapter 8 is There is no justice in history. It talks a lot about slavery. And I'm convinced that talking about things like slavery in an unbiased way is something that this man, Yuval Noah Harari, seems to have down to some kind of science. He also talks about men versus women and why and how patriarchy throughout history has had some sort of this societal upper hand, but the theories, more importantly, of where this came from. The third part is the unification of mankind. Chapter 9 is the arrow of history and how history has moved humankind increasingly toward unity. Might I add, a very fitting intro to this part. Chapter 10 is the scent of money, and money is just... what a concept, right? I feel like I've talked about money in reviews that have nothing to do with money of books, and it's really just ridiculous to think about. Chapter 11 is Imperial Dynasties. I think that's what, no, Imperial Visions, about like different dynasties and rulers. It was a little tricky to pick up on something. I feel like I haven't heard this guy talk all that much about this particularly, so it seemed like a little bit of a curveball for me, at least. Chapter 12 is the law of religion, and what this man has to say about religion, it's so absurd. It really is. My take on religion, for anyone who's curious, can be well articulated for the most part by him in this ending section of this chapter called the law of nature, as opposed to just the law of religion. Chapter 13 is the secret of success, about how we used all of the things I just talked about as leverage to get further into all of those different advancements. The fourth part is the scientific revolution. Chapter 14 is the discovery of ignorance, about how we think science is the answer to all our problems. I don't know. I feel like it's becoming the answer. It's weird. He seems to bounce from place to place regarding all these topics throughout the chapters. And by place to place, I don't mean like subject to subject. I mean place to place, like physical place to place. And the topics are brought up throughout human history in each chapter. And that is just like the execution, the organization right there is just, that's like, it's unprecedented. I think that's a good word for it. Unprecedented? Phenomenal? I don't know, one of those words. Maybe both. Chapter 15 is the marriage of science and empire, where the author does actually talk quite a bit about capitalism. And of course, chapter 16 is about capitalism. The Creed of Capitalism is the name of it, where he has the same brilliant thing in this book as the other one I reviewed, in that he ends one chapter the way he begins the next. Chapter 17 is the wheels of history, the wheels of industry. A fascinating tour of what resources people used up until now, and maybe even now and later, to kind of drive the economy. Chapter 18 is a permanent revolution, which sounded like a vaguely subtle jab at the profundity of how seriously we take what we care about today. Like, from time to money to technology to war. Chapter 19 is And They Lived Happily Ever After. And it's like, we are entering an age that is, the only word I can use to describe this age that we're entering is abundance. It's the age of abundance, which is basically a very good thing. But are we happy? There are all this abundance of everything, but how much of it is within us? You know what I mean? One of the main reasons I make these YouTube videos is that I want to solve that problem as it comes up, because I don't think a lot of us are that happy with where everything is going. Maybe that's just my take on it, but Yuval Noah Harari's, more importantly, because I'm making this review of his book, that's talked about in the book. Chapter 20 is the end of humans, and and not the end of us forever, like completely, but like where humans are gonna like end and turn into something else. And I feel like this book is like a bigger picture of the bigger picture. And so I got two of this guy's books, and what I have to say so far is just don't expect to get any one of these books from Yuval Noah Harari that does not dig a relatively large hole that is as deep as it is wide into your view of everything we see as important. collectively speaking. Quotes, "Despite their having no real bodies, the American legal system treats corporations as legal persons as if they were flesh and blood human beings. You can do many things with bayonets, but it is rather uncomfortable to sit on them. Everyone always wants money because everyone else also wants money, which means you can exchange money for whatever you want or need. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Today, humankind is driving many species into extinction and might even annihilate itself. The tectonic plates of history are moving at a frantic pace, but the volcanoes must be silent." Direction 1. I recommend this book for, obviously, not just anyone curious about human history. This man tends to write about the large systems that kind of flow like water downhill into the smaller things in life that create history and randomness over and over and over again. That being said, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this is the type of book that eliminates the need for years of history class, unless of course you're specifically looking to study one area, place, and or time of history itself. Still, then it even helps you see it from the perspectives of other times, areas, and places in history. Direction 2. If you like this book, I recommend checking out 21 Lessons from the 21st Century from the same author. It is big, it is vast, it is grandiose. I feel like all those words mean the same thing. It is Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews, that and all the other books that I mentioned in this video as well. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't know why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on the notification bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.